Fixed Stars in Astrology, created, directed, and presented by Rev Dr. Joe Mullen. In this video, Dr. Mullen will explore the significance of the 6 fixed stars in astrology and the Sabian symbols in terms of the zodiacal wheel and their implications for one's individual readings.
This is astrologer Dickie Joe Mullen in Orlando, Florida, with some thoughts about the fixed stars in the heavens around us. Looking up at the night sky, we often can see the red planet Mars and, of course, the very bright star Venus, and of the sun and the moon, the regular components in the birth chart. But there's a whole wide universe beyond that, and they contain it contains infinite numbers of stars. Fixed stars, along with the mansions of the moon and constellations, are part of astrology's most ancient heritage. Centuries before the zodiac signs, the astrological aspects, or houses were ever used, the dedicated astrologers of Egypt, India, China, and Central America interpreted and analyzed the stars around us. Before the night sky was filled with so much ambient light, there were many, many more visible stars. They were easier to see, and unless one is way out at sea on a ship now, it's hard to see these. And the doctrine, as above, so below, was respected by those who watched and analyzed the stars. During the past 20 years or so, modern astrologers have gained access to uploaded star lists, and with the help of new technology, this part of astrology, which was once the most carefully guarded by the learned scholars, can now benefit all of us who would explore the wisdom of the heavens in more depth and detail. As Menelaus, a great Roman astrologer, wrote in his book Astronomica, which came out in about the year 10 AD, you must not divert attention from the smallest detail. Nothing exists without reason. There's nothing that's been uselessly created. The universe within and a part of us, and nothing outside of it is coincidental or accidental. Think of that as you consider the many, many stars twinkling in the sky above us. Each is an individual sun, and each one radiates its own unique energy field. This cosmic celestial power impacts us always. The brightness of the stars, called the magnitude, as well as the temperature, revealing the color, provide clues to the exact nature of the stellar energy being sent. The vistas of space separating the stars from each other and from Earth are so vast that we can't even conceive of it. To facilitate comprehension, a unit of measurement called a light year was developed. This is the distance that light, which moves at 168,330 miles each second, travels in a whole year. And the closest stars are at least 4 light years away. The term fixed star is actually a misnomer. The stars do move, but they move so slowly that the position is barely perceptible over the span of a century. When combined with the position of the sun, moon, or a planet, or a parallel, a fixed star can impact the pattern of an entire life and overcome the message of the rest of the birth chart. Other aspects, such as a trine or opposition, are said by most astrologers, and I agree with this, to cast no rays. That means they don't have an influence. But the conjunction, the exact alignment with a fixed star in a birth chart, can be of lifelong importance. If the star's influence is a passing one, that means a transiting planet might affect it, the symbols and keynotes can have an impact over a given period of time. An interesting star to begin with is the wisdom from the lion's mouth, the fixed star Al-Ganube. Al-Ganube is an abbreviation from the Arabic for Ras El-Sad Os, meaning he who wins. In the tarot cards, the strength card, key 8 in the major arcana, is closely related to the message of the star. The tarot, of course, is an ancient textbook of astrology, alchemy, numerology, and more. And we can see this especially in the strength card and thinking of Al-Ganube. Al-Ganube is a yellow star of the third magnitude. It's based in the mouth of Leo, the lion, and it's 95 light years away from Earth. Al-Ganube's nature is neutral, meaning that how it's used depends upon one's individual choice or circumstances for good or evil. Al-Ganube has a Mars-Saturn nature. Creativity, artistic appreciation, theatrical, flamboyant, extremes of cruelty and kindness are both present within Al-Ganube. All of those born between August 11th and 15th of any year will have Al-Ganube conjunct the sun at birth. Everyone else who has a 2-degree orb within the 21st degree of Leo for a natal placement are likewise permanently blended with this intriguing star. The wise will heed the messages by this influence and mighty star through this little poem. Lights shining in the void, stars symbolize the spirit. There's a divine struggle, overcome the deepest darkness. In a natal horoscope, again, the fixed star can color the entire destiny. Another really intriguing fixed star falls in the sign of Capricorn. The fixed star Polus is currently located at 3 degrees Capricorn, 13 minutes, taking its name from the Greek word for a city. Think of metropolitan as Polis, the Egyptian city of Heliopolis. Polus relates to power and good fortune. This is a triple star of the 4th magnitude. It combines the competitive nature of Mars with benevolent and lucky Jupiter. A Coptic tradition calls Polus the foal, or the young horse. It forms a part of the upper curve of the bow of Sagittarius, the archer. Often those born with Polus emphasized in the natal horoscope will be gifted in horsemanship. Militant tendencies, high aspirations, adventure, ambition, success through keen perceptions, and a tendency to dominate are the signature notes of Polus. Birthdays between December 23rd and 27th of any year have the natal sun close to Polus. Those born at this time, or horoscopes with planets from 1 to 5 degrees of Capricorn, will be impacted by this influential star. Another intriguing star to look at, which can profoundly affect the interpretation of a birth chart, is Markeb. Markeb is currently located in late Virgo, about 29 degrees of Virgo, and its nature is a fortunate one. It reflects both Jupiter and Saturn. Markeb, not to be confused with two malevolent stars called Markeb and Menkar, appears as a small white light in the constellation of Argus, the ship. It relates to the acquisition of knowledge, pious faith and goodness, voyages, expansion, and profit. There is a caution with virtuous Markeb, keeping bad company, attempting indiscretions, or any illegal ventures will meet with disaster or even imprisonment in the horoscopes of those who are influenced by this star. Acting with propriety, pure, positive, and good motives means that this will be positive. This star straddles the Virgo-Libra cusp. And so just kind of thinking if your birthday is between the 19th and the 24th of September, your sun will be in conjunction with Markeb. And then also planets located from 26 degrees of Virgo to 1 Libra or so will be influenced by this kind of intriguing star. The next group of fixed stars is actually a trio, the Three Kings, a cosmic trio of fixed stars related to the three wise men in mythology, who, by the way, were thought to be astrologers following the holy star. The first star is Alnicatat as 24 Gemini 1, Alnilam at 22 Gemini 4, and Mintaka at 22 Gemini 24. They're all clustered together around 22 to 24 Gemini. For thousands of years, distinctive earthly landscape features have been linked with the messages hinted at by the fixed star patterns in the heavens. Both naturally occurring and man-made structures mirror the cosmic messages spelled out in this distant twinkling canopy which oversees life on earth. The great pyramids of Giza in Egypt, built about 5,000 years ago by pharaoh kings, the Bird Mound at Poverty Point, Louisiana, Ohio's Serpent Mound, and Machu Picchu in Peru are ancient observatories, as is Chichen Itza in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. And these are a few examples of how the ancients reflected the stars above and observed them. They're intriguing places, and they have encoded messages with the mountains, stones, and canyons and lakes all around the world, reflecting the messages of the stars above us. Among all of these is a grouping of 3 rocks off the coast of Scotland in the Firth of Forth. And it's especially captivating because the rocks might be man-made, or they could be naturally occurring volcanic structures. And they've been named the Lamb, Craiglith, and Fira. And they look like the great pyramids of Egypt, 3 tracing a meandering lines of stars. And these are the 3 kings that we're going to talk about in the constellation of Orion. They reflect the pyramids, but also 3 kings of Celtic myth, including Arthur, Robert the Bruce, and various other ancient Irish kings. Are they the 3 wise men? The ley lines in the islands off the Firth of Forth connect to Tara, Bannockburn, Scotland, Roslin Chapel, and Glastonbury in the United Kingdom. There's an ancient link with the prophecies of these stars. Lamb Island has a reference to the Lamb of God and shows an affinity with a 15th century manuscript that was drawn that states that these are the rocks where Noah's Ark came to rest, and the true location of the Isle of Avalon, all revealed by these stars, kind of like a map above us. The 3 kings are a twinkling stellar brotherhood. Their names are Alnitak, Analam, and Mintaka. Alnitak, the most eastern, is white and violet, and it has a nature of Mercury. Analam in the center is all white with the fortunate nature of Jupiter, while Mintaka on the western edge is variable and pale violet and has a dual mercurial nature. The stars' Arabic names are variation or translations of words meaning girdle or belt. Together the 3 stars form a distinctive belt worn by the heavenly giant in the heavens, the Hunter Orion. Orion was once thought to have been created from an ox hide by the 3 gods, and Mercury, Neptune, and Jupiter as a hospitality gift for Horius following a memorable evening of entertainment. Must have been quite a party. I've often thought of that. The 3 kings and the stars create a stunning picture when the night sky is clear enough, and usually the interpretation by astrologers is that they have a masculine energy. In the cosmology of Australia, the 3 stars have been viewed as 3 handsome men dancing to celestial music played by the Pleiades sisters. More about that in a minute. And a grouping of stars in nearby Taurus. In Greenland, they were thought to be seal hunters. In Germany, they became three harvesters. In China, the three stars were seen as part of a weighing beam, while in southern Europe, they became the staffs belonging to Jacob, Peter, and Mary in the Bible. Further north, the three stars became the Magi, or the three wise men. The line they make has been constituted with various gifts of pearls, golden grains, nuts, or spangles. In medieval astrology, a devotion to hunting is seen in Orion with the stars, and the poet Alfred Lord Tennyson honored them with these famous lines. These three stars of the airy giant's zone that glitter burnished by the frosty dark. Do the three kings affect your individual horoscope? Well, if you were born between the 10th and the 19th of June, any year they're in conjunction with the sun, bringing a cautious and discreet nature, public honors, preferment, and gain, and changeability. For the rest of us, any planets from 19 to 27 degrees Gemini in your birth chart will be affected by the three kings. Another interesting fixed star is Alphecca, a brilliant white star of the second magnitude. It's impressed astrologers since at least the time of Ptolemy, and its frequency attunes to Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Alphecca promises literary ability, poetic speech, artistry, dignity, leadership, wealth, and sorrow and scandal, though, if it's used negatively. Called the jewel in the crown of the Scorpion. Currently it's located at about 12 degrees of Scorpio. Alphecca's name comes from the Arabic, and it means bright one in the broken ring. It also has a Latin name, Nausicaa Gemma Stellas Corane, meaning gem, star of the crown of Gnosis. Alphecca is one of the legendary 15 Behenian or root stars assigned magical attributes in medieval ritual. Magical traditions of Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa in his 3 books of occult philosophy can be linked to protecting the virtue and giant revelations through dreams, attracting honor and friendship. The juice of the herb rosemary combined with clover, ivy, and a topaz gem, the birthstone of Scorpio, were used magically at one time to court Alphecca's favor. With the sun, a brilliant intellect is related to this star, and all those born between November 2nd and 8th of any year will have Alphecca conjunct the sun. The Pleiades is maybe one of the most famous or infamous of the star cluster. Anyone else drive a Subaru? Well, you're driving with the Pleiades right all over the face of your car, the front of it if you are, which I'll tell you gave me some pause when I was looking out for a new car, but I thought I would risk it anyway. There was some wood to knock on. Pleiades. It's unique in that it's prominent in the cosmology of almost every culture around the globe. There's a beautiful bronze disc that dates from Germany in about 1600 BC that offers one of the earliest renderings of this controversial star. Highly conspicuous in the night sky everywhere on the planet, the Pleiades is a cluster of at least 7 separate stars. Various traditions portray them as the 7 sisters, the 7 hens, or the 7 maidens. They're grouped within just 1 degree of longitude of each other, so for interpretation purposes, astrologers always read them together, even though they're referred to as plural. There's Alcyon, the principal and brightest star in the middle, or reference point, surrounded by Maya, Electra, Tagyet, Selene, Stereope, and Meriope, who is said to be the lost or missing Pleiades. She's invisible except to those with exceptional eyesight or a really good telescope. Sometimes 2 or more stars are added to represent their parents, Atlas and Pleiades called in from the fringes. In the northern hemisphere, Pleiades is especially visible in the month of November. Tied to frosty cold and the increasing darkness, the stars are often seen as distinctly evil, harboring negative or somber omens called the weeping widows or sisters. One Native American legend links them to unwanted, unloved orphans who retreated to the sky to mourn and lament. A Cheyenne interpretation sees them as a group of puppies birthed to a girl after a visit in the night from a mysterious dog. And among the Lakota tribe, the Pleiades are said to be the Devil's Tower. Celtic mythology also sees them as tears or mourning symbols. Their appearance often coincided with the funeral or death rites near Halloween or Samhain. Hindu astrology sees the Pleiades as a deity nursed by 6 separate mothers. In Greece, the 7 sisters were sought after, though, for their beauty and grace, that Zeus transformed them into doves. In the Baltic countries, particularly Latvia and Lithuania, they become a group of sisters walking to their weddings, escorted by a benevolent brother. A Nordic legend hails them as hens belonging to Freya, the Norse love goddess. Among the Berbers in Africa, the Pleiades become daughters of the night, a reminder that a goatskin hag in clothing comes with them to prepare for inclement weather. Anyone want to buy a car? I don't know. Maybe I'll put my. I know I like my Pleiades. I like my Subaru. Ukrainian stargazers see them as 7 maidens who lived long ago, and at death they became immortal water nymphs. In the Andean culture, they are seen as bringers of abundance and a summer harvest. Remember, we're looking at the southern hemisphere, and all the seasons are reversed. So the Aztec based a whole calendar around them, referred to as the marketplace. Another legend relates the Pleiades to the virgin companions of Diana, fleeing the unwanted attentions of Orion. In Australia, they're also sisters chased by an unwanted suitor, and in New Zealand, they become brides again, journeying towards summer weddings. In Chinese astrology, they outline the head of a white tiger, and in Thailand, they're at the center of an elaborate tale involving an elderly couple who saw them as a mother and chicks. In medieval times, star diagrams always used the Pleiades in ritual magic, and the Japanese-made car, the Subaru, has the Pleiades on the front because they're considered to be very lucky and very popular there. And if you buy a Subaru, they'll say, first of all, what do the stars mean? They'll say it's just the merging of 7 Japanese companies. But if you look a little closer, there's a deeper, more subtle, mystical meaning that the Subaru company uses with the 7 visible stars. They're against a deep blue background, and it hints at a blessing being invoked through medieval magic. The invisible star, though, isn't there. They're just the 6 visible ones. In esoteric astrology, the symbols of the Pleiades uplift the 7 rays of humanity. Various New Age writers relate to them as messengers for the human destiny. The enigmatic star cluster has inspired poets and writers. Tennessee Williams mentions them in A Streetcar Named Desire, and in a Bible passage from Job, Canst thou blind the sweet influences of Pleiades, interprets them as positive again. So maybe it's what we make of it. Of special interest at present, I mentioned the Pleiades because they're making a rare sign change. They've always been at 28, 29 Taurus, as long as any astrologer can remember. But just right now, they've gone to 0 degrees Gemini, 0 minutes. Now, the fixed stars just move a single degree about every 72 years. So a sign change like this takes place only once every 2,100 years. Now the characteristics of Pleiades are influenced through Gemini, not Taurus, and they're beginning to operate on an entirely different level. And so if you have any placements that are right around 28 Taurus, 29 Taurus up through 4 Gemini, especially right on the 0 Gemini mark, or your birthday is right around May 22nd, 23rd of any year, then the Pleiades cluster will influence you. Next time you look up at the night sky, ponder on all of the different stars and realize that each of them has a celestial energy, a subtle message coming to us from across time and space. I'd like to briefly mention something else since we're talking about specific degrees of the zodiac. Like any circle, the zodiacal circle has 360 degrees, and they correlate with the 365 days of the year. And of course, they don't match up exactly because they're a little bit less than a whole day or degree, and they vary a little bit according to leap year. But looking at a group of Sabian symbols, the picture symbols, and an individual birth date, you can quickly see which Sabian symbol affects you. And in my daily astrology presentations I'm doing on Facebook, I'm trying to mention the Sabian symbol of each day. So what are astrology's Sabian symbols? Well, it all began on a bright California day in 1925, and ironically the exact date wasn't ever recorded. It's now forgotten. But one of the greatest astrologers who ever lived combined with a gifted clairvoyant and created this project which has changed the face of horoscopes forever. The project was called the 360 Sabian Symbols, unique and separate picture images depicting each of the signs and degrees of the zodiac. These two collaborators were the astrologer Mark Edmund Jones and Elsie Wheeler, the gifted clairvoyant. They were both in their late 30s at this time, and the pair had met when 2 years earlier Elsie Wheeler joined Mark Edmund Jones' spiritualist church, where he was a minister. Elsie was so crippled with arthritis that she was confined to a wheelchair and could barely move her head and arms, terribly handicapped. Nevertheless, she was an excellent medium, and she made a very good living doing psychic readings. However, she lamented to Mark, her friend and minister, that most people's lives were mundane, repetitious, and boring. She was so tired of their ordinary concerns, and she wanted so much to produce something profound and significant. Mark Edmund Jones had an idea, a flash of inspiration. It was a brainstorm. He had come across an obscure set of pictorial images from the degrees of the zodiac by the Welsh astrologer Charobel that was published in 1898 in Alan Leo's Astrological Manual. However, Jones thought that these symbols were not universal enough and too dated from the late 19th century, but he liked the concept of bringing each degree of the zodiac to life using pictures. He had tried to explore this previously with Zoe Wells, another local psychic, but the results were disappointing. Wells did channel through an important point, though, about the concept of individual degree symbolism, really relating to the teachings of ancient Arabia and Egypt, and this gave Jones the name Sabian. The project was to be called the Sabian, S-A-B-I-A-N, Symbols in Astrology. Sabian suggests that those who really came up with this idea were from Saba, an ancient country in Mesopotamia near present-day Yemen. And the original symbols were a non-Muslim religion, the Sabians. They were classified along with the Zoroastrians. Their faith was revealed by God. It connects to a higher intelligence intelligence, and this is said to be what was called upon in retrieving these symbols. So Jones was adamant, after researching and deciding all this, that the project had to be done in one day, one fell swoop, without any interruptions. He prepared 360 index cards, listing each individual degree from 0 degrees of Aries all the way around the zodiac. Each zodiac sign has 30 degrees, and there's 12 of them, to the 29th degree of Pisces. Then he went and collected Elsie Wheeler. He had to carry her to his car. She was so crippled by that time, and they drove to an isolated park, Balboa Park, near San Diego. And then a massive feat of channeling began, connecting to the universal mind and matrix for many years. In the parked car, Mark Edmund Jones took notes, and Elsie went into a deep trance. He credits another 20th century astrologer, a great named Dane Rudhyar, with helping him to organize and popularize what Elsie came up with that day for an original publication in 1953. Originally, they came across as mimeographed astrology lessons, and then a whole group of astrologers called the Sabian Assembly, who actually met until Jones died. Around 1980 or so, the late 1970s. And it's important to remember that the Sabian symbols are read forward. For example, if there's a planet at 9 degrees Capricorn 10 minutes, you'd read ahead to the 9th degree. Here are some examples of some of the symbols. The 9th degree of Capricorn is an angel carrying a harp. So it goes from 8 Capricorn to 8:59 minutes, even though it's mentioned at 9. And then at 9, the next symbol comes in, which is an albatross with the hand of a sailor feeding it. The symbols range from abstract to humorous to gruesome, absurd and mystical. Some really weird examples are a fat boy mowing a lawn, children blowing soap bubbles, 3 stained glass windows, 1 damaged by bombs, and a battle between the swords and the torches, and a widow at an open grave. The symbols are really interesting to look at in examining the natal birth chart. Look at the ones for the ascendant, the midheaven, and the sun, moon, and planets. These various enigmatic images reveal the deeper meaning of life. This is astrologer Dickie Jo Mullen, hoping that you'd enjoyed this glimpse at the fixed stars and the Sabian symbols.